Welcome back to the channel once again. It's a beautiful morning. I'm ready to start up Blender again. Today I will be making an interesting sci-fi, digital, whatever. I'm not exactly sure yet. Let's just get into it. Alright, so I'm thinking I have a sort of landscape going on. If I hit M here, I can merge at center, which gives me a basic cone. I'm going to go ahead and position the camera because that's always what I do first. And I'm going to scale up this plane some more. Alright, so my camera is now positioned and I want lots of interesting pieces like this. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the shading tab after I add a plane. And I'm going to give this plane right here a material. I'm going to add a Voronoi texture. Plug the distance into the base color. Turn down the randomness, add a color ramp, constant, and limit the color ramp like that. And what I'm going to do, hit a mix shader. That's going to get plugged into the factor. This is shader 1, and shader 2 will be a transparent BSDF. Plug that into the surface, and we get something like that. I'm going to switch this to cycles. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a basic sky texture. And as you can see here, it's very hard to tell, but there's like these little dots, and that's what I want. Alright, so now I have all these dots here. I'm actually going to swap out this principled for an emission. That's going to go into the shader 1. I'm going to turn it to red, I think. Turn down the saturation a bit. And turn the strength up to about 10. So if I go into render mode now, it's a little bit easier to see. These are kind of independent of each other. This sky texture needs to be altered, but I will do that later. Alright, so I have this sheet of dots right here. I'm gonna hit GZ, I'm gonna hit GX, GY. I'm gonna move it in place so it's like that. Now I'm gonna hit Shift D, X. And you can kind of see where I'm going with this. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a circle. I'm going to add a circle, fill type, Ngon, GZ, I for inset, and X to delete. So now we have these positioned like this. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to edit this and cut off that part, so we just have that one row separated. So this is going to give it kind of like a digital look. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but I think it's going to look pretty cool. Now it's really hard to tell, but yeah, I think that'll look pretty good. Here's another trick I've learned. I'm going to add a curve, a circle curve. I'm going to position this over top of this. And now we have this circle curve. So, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a Icosphere with 3 subdivisions, shade smooth it, scale it down, apply the scale, move it out of the way, add an array, and then also add a curve. But make sure the curve's after the array. For the curve, I'm going to choose a curve object of the Bezier. So now what we have here is this little ring of these circles. Duplicate that and move it above this one as well. Now obviously I'm just making this up as I go. That's part of being a 3D artist though. Alright, so that's kind of the basic scene. I'm not sure what else to add. Done with that, on to the materials. Alright, so this material right here is going to be the material for almost everything here. I want it to be a dark gray. And I'm going to use a noise texture. So this noise texture is going to dictate the roughness and also the bump. So I'm going to do the bump first. Make sure the coordinates are object. Scale it up. Till it's about there. Turn up the detail to 16. Roughness I usually turn up a little bit. Alright, so another thing I love to do is I love to add a color ramp to this, and that way I can kind of limit off the top of some of this. give it those nice divots. And then what I do after that is I hit a mix RGB, and I just plug this into the second color. That way I can choose what I want more of. I'm going to plug this also into the roughness. I'm going to add another mix, and I'm going to add a different noise texture. So this noise texture is going to have the same texture coordinates. Make sure it's set to object. I want to make sure this is the only thing dictating it. Turn the scale a little bit. Distortion, detail, and roughness. And I'm going to add a Musgrave to actually act as the factor. That way we have all this detail going on. And then as a final thing, I'm going to add a color ramp to this. So it's pretty complicated, but if you've been following along, it makes a lot of sense. So now what we have here is the finished material. I'm going to add this to most everything else here. But these things right here, I'm actually going to make a new material for these. I'm going to use that as the roughness. But for the base color, I'm going to make it much lighter. And I'm going to give it metallic. Alright. So let's see how this looks in rendered mode. Now obviously we have our sky texture set way too bright. Sun size I usually make a lot bigger. Gives you softer shadows. Elevation I'm going to definitely make it higher up. I definitely want the rotation to be that direction. Okay, and then I want the strength to be very low. Alright, so this is a nice looking scene. I'm going to make this much redder. That way it's just bright red. So I'm going to do a little more lighting now. Sky texture obviously isn't enough. I need to do more lighting. My favorite color scheme is magenta and cyan. This one can be cyan. Now let's look at this in rendered mode. Looks pretty good. So my basic lighting setup is just 3 lamps and a sky texture. This one's set to white, this one's set to cyan, and this one's set to magenta. I had a lot of fun working on this interesting scene. I thought of this a while ago. I saw something. I can't remember what it was, but it had the same kind of idea, I think. Yeah, I just really like these dots here. So a few things I want to do before I go ahead and render this out. I want the look to be high contrast. That always looks better. And I want to enable some depth of field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, enable depth of field. And the focus distance, I want it to be focusing about on there. So what you always do is if you want to set your focus distance, you set the f-stop really low. And then you turn up your distance until it focuses. Right about there. And then you can turn it back up again. So I think I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and render this out. See you in a bit. Through the magic of editing, I am here instantly with you. This is the final render right here. You've already seen it because I screwed up the intro explaining how it was going to look. So I'm not going to redo that intro. I really don't care. So you've already seen it, but I really like this style. I'm looking forward to making more of this kind of stuff. So if you guys really like this kind of stuff, please let me know. Subscribe, share it with a friend. You know, do all that YouTubey stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad people are enjoying my videos. It really means a lot to me. Anyways, I'm gonna go play some Minecraft right now. Have a good one, guys.